Hi, I'm Peachy.
And I'm Patrick, and this is the only painting show where we leave it up to you, the audience, to decide if we're wearing any trousers.
So, Pat, normally, at least so far, people have been asking me questions. I'm here to ask you some questions. No, you'll be fine. I'll ask you all sorts of mean and harsh questions of what I'm doing. No, painting phase. Your idea. You're the genius behind this show, I would say. Yeah.
I'm like the Wizard of Oz. I'm behind the curtain.
You are a wizard. He is a wizard. I assure you, he is a wizard. So where did it all come from? Where the idea? I mean, obviously we work together in the workshop. Maybe we should start there first. Our time.
Maybe we should.
We should start at the beginning.
Our love story.
Our prelude.
Yeah.
Our love story.
Before, we're in the original trilogy at the minute.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Which was my sort of relatively short stint at GW, I guess.
It's a good origin story, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it all started, as most good stories do, with a global pandemic. And I don't want to make light of anyone that suffered through that, but there was a lot of changes in circumstances.
Yeah.
So I had a wedding videography business. I still have that now. And all my work just dried up. People postponed sort of a year, 2 years. Some people postponed 3 years, that kind of thing. So I went from usually the year previous, 2019, I think I shot about 45 weddings. And then in 2020, I did one.
Wow. Ooh, that is a draw.
So that was your business gone.
Yeah.
And because I was quite new, I got some government assistance, but with my previous years of books and all that kind of thing, they were like, here's enough money to support you over 3 months. Here's £800.
Oh, wow.
And it was nice to get the assistance. I know a lot of people in the industry didn't, because they were limited companies and blah, blah, blah. But so I was like, I'm going to get a job. So I started working at Sainsbury's for a while.
Is that the one around Notts?
Yeah, he's the one close to Lenton.
Okay,
yeah, so you walk down the canal and all that sort of stuff. I could smell the plastic and
There is a smell.
And it's not plastic. So I worked at Sainsbury's for a while doing picking online shopping.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to sit around. I always feel like I have to work. If I don't do anything, I start asking myself all these stupid philosophical questions where I'm like, who am I? My work defines me. And I think like my parents are both like my dad especially, he's sort of like, work, Patrick, do it. And that sort of stuff. So I think I've kind of picked up a bit on that.
Yeah.
So I struggle to sort of sit down and relax. But anyway.
Yeah.
Work there, picking online shopping, 3 o'clock in the morning. I get up and do my little shift, push my trolley around. But it was all right. It's quite, I know this is a Warhammer podcast, but I'm going to tell you how online shopping works.
Can't wait. I was actually going to ask, what's that like, to be fair?
I tell you what, if people will order online shopping and they'll be like, oh, they didn't have this, so they sent you this. Yeah. And you go, why? Why? Just don't send me anything.
Yeah.
And it's our boss that we had there. It's a very stern lady.
Yeah.
If you have an IPH, which is items per hour, and if you meet that, fine, you'll get left alone. You could stick one headphone in, and you could walk around. And I'd listen to tunes and podcasts and all that sort of stuff. And there's old lady with crutches, and they're like, you need to speed up, Janet, and it's like, she's literally falling to bits. Bless them. But it was quite fun, but also a bit boring. But anyway, you would get told off if you didn't send a sub. So it would be start of the pandemic when I got that job. It would be like eggs gone, because everyone was like, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do home baking. No flour, no eggs, and it's like. And when we get told off if you didn't send a substitute, because it would come up on the paperwork and it would be like, Patrick didn't send a substitute for this, and it would be like, why didn't you send a sub? And it's like, well, what can I send instead of eggs?
Yeah,
and that kind of thing.
I mean, also, are you a baker?
No.
So would you know what the substitute for eggs if you were baking a cake?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what that
No.
is.
Well, I
More
think-
margarine, please.
Yeah. So then you'd end up like, because you had a target to reach, which
Yeah.
sometimes was quite difficult, because if you did freezer shops, that was quite slow and all that blah blah blah. So I remember once someone was like, "Oh, I want some like some skewers, like they were like metal skewers to make like kebabs with."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Damn, there aren't any. There aren't any wooden ones. What's also metal and sharp? Potato peeler."
I think it's like, folks are paying for that. They don't want it. It's so stupid. I don't get
I remember being in the Battle Report studio with Pat, and he looked at his phone, and he was just like, "I asked for ice cubes. You'll never guess what they've sent me." And I was like, "You shop at Sainsbury's, don't you?" And I was going around the shop in my head, and I was like, "Peas." And he went, "Oh my God." "How did you know that?" And I was like, "Well, the ice cubes are in this bit. Next to that is the ice lollies, and it's a heat wave, and they've all gone.
Yeah.
So the next option, which is quickest for people to get to, is peas." But anyway, after I had enough of that, one of my mates said, "Oh, you should apply for this," and it was a videography job at Games Workshop. I applied. I made an application video of like me presenting, and I put loads of stupid visual effects on it and all that kind of thing, which was quite.
I heard about this. I heard it was good. I heard you should have applied for the presenter role.
Someone did say that.
Yeah.
They were like, "You should have applied for a presenter role," and I didn't really know a great deal about Warhammer at the time, to be honest. Like I as many people did, like picked it up in primary school, and I had like a couple of like I had a metal like Calgar. I think he's like got one hand in the air and all that sort of stuff. And I had like the Librarian as well, and a few other little bits and pieces, but that was kind of like my introduction to it. And then those models are lost to the sands of time, unfortunately. I did rebuy them on eBay, like the metal sculpts. I think at one point I would like to paint them and like recreate my first steps in the hobby. But
that'll make a good like little sort of chat show. It's like sitting there just painting like our first ever model that we probably got our hands on. Because I think mine was like a rocker, an orc rocker.
Yeah.
Because my mate's got it for me for my birthday. So yeah, we should do that. Yeah. I wonder what Jeff's would be. I reckon it'd be something like pre-lead. So like a stone carving, because he's old, isn't he?
It's just carved on the side of a cave.
He's right there, isn't he?
Brutal.
I got my first miniature free with my copy of the Magna Carta.
Oh, yeah, cool. That's not that long ago, actually. I thought it was longer than that, Jeff.
But yeah, if I can find my application
I was
video.
into Dungeons and Dragons before that, to be fair, so it's a while back.
Yeah. If I can find my application video, I'll stick a link. In,
Please,
in the description or
we'll have to
something,
see it.
so people can watch it, because it worked. I got the job.
Yeah.
Which was quite cool. And then I was a videographer for Warhammer Plus.
Yeah.
Battle Report. Yeah.
So I remember when you were there, because you and a guy called Joe, who I worked with. Joe was my videographer for the painting YouTube stuff.
Love Joe.
Yeah, Joe's great. And
Joe.
Kids as well, so we used to have a lot in common when we used to talk about it. You were in the corner.
Dakar!
Yeah, well, didn't we all?
I was going to try not to swear, because I know I have to censor it.
I'm a good boy. I don't swear, bro.
No. I tell you what, the last chat show you and Jeff did, no swearing at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good job, Jeff.
Yeah. It was quite
I'll need to
impressive.
work on those numbers.
So me and Joe started on the same day.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
So you specialise in something called multicam editing. Is that right? So I remember people talking about this, like there's some kind of wizardry that you'd thrown in there.
Like I didn't in my interview, like being a wedding videographer, I think sets you up pretty well for doing loads of different stuff, because I think like I don't consider myself an expert in any field at all.
Same.
But I can do lots of stuff. It's kind of like jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And with videography, it's kind of like that, really. Like studio experience, I was lacking. I hadn't really done a great deal of that. But you turn up to a wedding and someone's like, right, someone's asked me to get a shot of these rings and these shoes, so you have to be a good product, like videographer. And then it's kind of like your documentary skills as well.
Yeah.
And then it's like, right, architecture, how does that work? Right, and you have to be, regardless of what you're doing, where you're doing it, you have to turn up, you have to do a good job. And it's the same with the editing as well. So the multicam stuff, like your ceremonies and your speeches from your weddings, I developed a system. I'd learned how to multicam edit, and so handling lots of footage and just chugging through it was something that I was used to.
Yeah, and that, I guess that helped when people were doing the battle reports because you had like angles of cameras. And
yeah,
stuff.
so the battle reports, you've got at least 3, 4, like 5 cameras going at the same time. Yeah,
quite a lot of.
Which puts a lot of strain on the computers. We had these like iMacs. I remember seeing it's like, right, okay, so, and you're just editing on a potato initially, and it was like, right, I've put one battle report on the hard drive of my computer. We've already shot another one. I don't have the space for it.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, can I get a hard drive? And it was like, we'll put an order in. And big businesses, like, spending money, it all happens quite slowly.
Yeah.
And I remember being told, right, there's some RAID drives on the floor there. Just pick one of them up. If it works, it's yours.
I think there's sort of like, I guess, a thing with like workshop when it comes to like not purchasing or buying things in. There's this whole negative connotation from back in the day when we used to be the pre-Lord of the Rings thing.
I heard rumours about this.
Yeah, so we did really well. Lord of the Rings, like, you know, the numbers flew up and workshop went a bit mad. We got loads of cool stuff out, like new tech, new like sort of.
I mean, the whole building we were in.
Oh yeah, the whole building was built from the back end of like the Lord of the Rings success.
Sweet Lord of the Rings money.
But then after that, it was maintaining that massive peak, and we didn't, and we had loads of staff.
Yeah.
And not enough money coming in.
Lots of redundancies and stuff.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of like the people being a bit sort of cautious about chucking money here, there, left and right is because of that. That a lot of them still like remember that.
Yeah.
Going, oh, you know, I don't want to chuck too much here because I said in the last interview, like I wanted to get like this highlight system in the photography studio.
Yeah.
It was like 10 grand. It was just like no one wants to pay for it, but it would have like made it more worthwhile. But you know, that's just finance people being very, not miserly, just cautious, I guess.
Yes, I think all the purchases had to go through like one person.
Yeah, that's right, which is understandable. Make sure, like, you know, you've got eyes on everything and stuff.
Yes.
One of the things I always thought interesting was like when someone started new in workshop, and I'll be interested to hear your thoughts and feelings of it, not like in a negative kind of like way. So I alluded to this, like the Lego thing, like I want to work for Lego.
Yes.
And then after like a month or two you become disenchanted, and it's like the honeymoon period goes. How long was it for you with all the honeymoon periods?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. It was like months for me. Because when I joined the studio it was great, but 2 weeks, wow, that's crushing.
Well, I mean, yeah, brilliant. Like, and I don't know if I can say why, and I don't want to say why.
Yeah, fair.
I guess I can allude to the fact that
stuff happened.
And
I know exactly what the story is.
And I was present, and I had to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
When people make mistakes and everyone's involved, that's...
Yeah. That happened like super early on.
Yeah.
And it was like...
Yeah. That's a shame.
So yeah, I'm like super appreciative of my time there.
Yeah.
Like I met so many cool people, including you.
Yeah, I mean,
and it changed my life. Like here we are, talking on our own YouTube channel.
I think the interesting thing is like I've worked with people for decades, and that I get on with them at work, but I won't go out for a beer with them.
Yeah.
I mean, we've not been out for a beer. Just saying. But it's that kind of weird, like sometimes just some relationships just like clicks, like me and Silk, you know, got on like a house on fire.
Yeah.
As soon as she started, and you know, it was just like I'd love to spend more time just working and doing like cool fun things. Like when we like would do like videos together, like the Imperium videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Like same for you, just like chatting at lunchtimes and just like looking for any excuse, because we were looking at doing TikToks back in the day as well, weren't we?
Yeah, we're trying to put...
never quite made the
I remember putting a proposal together to do TikToks. It was so in the battle report team, someone I worked very closely with was Pat Price. And we got along really well. He's no longer there. He's back holding fully automatic machine guns.
The thin blue line against crime,
charging around London.
People with like little like masks and swag bags, apparently. That's...
Like he's playing Modern Warfare in real life. I just hope if he gets shot, he can respawn.
He can.
He's
Pat Price.
Yeah, he's Pat Price. He's far too nice to get shot. Yeah, the friendliest human I think I've ever met. Absolutely insane. Luscious beard as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, because he it was kind of like that sort of like Pat was a big fan of Warhammer previously. I sort of not necessarily aware of it, hadn't really played it in a long time. It was Astartes that sort of brought me
Of course, yeah.
back into it, as I think it did with loads of other people.
Yeah.
And seeing it reviewed on other shows that I watch on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he was a big ideas pushing for TikToks, other tactics shows and that kind of thing. But because Battle Report was way more labour intensive than was initially planned for, they just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Which was a shame.
Yeah, I suppose when you get like workloads, I mean, I've had that experience many times where like there's loads of things you want to do, but sometimes the work gets in the way of trying to make the work better by trying other things.
Yeah, because I think it was meant to get to a stage where, you know, Battle Report would kind of look after itself, and then it would be like, right, what's season 2? And that was meant to be, I mean, Warhammer Plus launched in August.
Yeah, I think it was August, yeah.
I mean, it was meant to launch in July, but one person in the office got COVID, and that delayed the whole launch of Warhammer Plus.
Which I think was a blessing as opposed to a curse.
Yeah. I mean, we would have really struggled to get the back reps out and stuff like that. But, it and then there was meant to be, as far as I'm aware, a season 2, so tactics shows and all that kind of thing. But, yeah, Battle Report was so intensive, and we were having to pull from other people, so Joe helped out edit.
Yes, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff, which that season for you, being the YouTube painting presenter...
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
You didn't do any painting.
Yeah.
And like all the big Orc releases, nothing got done.
Yeah.
There was no videos on those.
I think that without like getting too in it, I mean, obviously there's many reasons for someone moving on and stuff like that, but I definitely think there was a period of like 5 to 6 months where I felt useless. I wasn't doing anything.
You did a lot of tidying.
I did a lot of tidying, hoovering. I was hoovering corridors and studios and stuff like that, and I just felt like really sort of unutilised. I think that started my journey of there's more to life than this, surely. I don't mind hoovering. I used to work in hospitality. That's not what I applied for.
Yeah, no, that's it. I remember, I think everybody was out of the office. I think you must have been I've got the post-it note somewhere, and it just says Peachy naked bum time, or like
Peachy naked Friday bum time.
Yeah,
everyone. I wasn't involved in this meeting. Everyone in the studio had just been invited to this one meeting, which I wasn't invited to. I felt a little bit left out, so I just got a load of post-it notes. There was about 25. I just wrote by hand and stuck them on everyone's seats.
Yeah,
because I just sat on everyone's seats. I didn't actually sit naked, but I pretended to.
Yeah.
So I just went around the whole office and had about 12 cups of tea at the time whilst everyone was out. I felt so sad and lonely. But yeah, so I mean, you did some stuff on Battle Report. You did it for what, about 6 months?
Yeah, I was at GW for 6 months.
Yeah. So you had reasons for leaving. You don't have to go into those, but
I think like the thing about ways to sort of phrase this and all that kind of thing, and it's like I've been self-employed for quite a long time, probably 4 years. I think, or something like that. And you know, GW is obviously its own big thing, and I've never worked for like a big company before and all that sort of stuff. And there's like you said previously, like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I was hired as a shooter editor, but ended up the way things were just doing editing.
Okay.
And I think, you know, there's 2 ways of looking at it. Like, if I was a team player, I would have been like, I'll just do all the editing, it's fine. But then on the other side, it's kind of like, people would say in my reviews, they'd be like, are you fulfilling your job description? I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit frustrating. Sort of that kind of thing. Like, because I come from doing the shooting and the editing.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to do both.
Well, as we all know, your shooting is very, very good.
It's all right.
I don't disagree.
I think, like,
I disagree.
I mean, like, there's good comments about, like, the videography on what we're doing at the moment, which is great. And like selecting the music, people say the music's good, and that's kind of like, again, part of what I've done a lot, I think, with like shoot the video, edit it, I put music to it, but in the videos we do, nobody says, "You're my soulmate and I love you and I'll spend the rest of my life with you."
I do.
I think I do the fundamentals, you know, to a standard.
Yeah.
I think you know, the jack of all trades kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the guys at GW.
Percy unclean.
I don't know if they'll want me to name drop them. Maybe I'll beat them out. So those guys do the product videography.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, if you see a video that says "Kill Teams going up for pre-order" and you see the cool, they do probe shots.
Yeah.
You know, inspiration. I mean, I'm not their inspiration; they're mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it is amazing.
So none of my ideas are original.
Some of them very much are.
So like those guys, incredible. Like they shoot minis and they make them look amazing. Like given a bit more time, I think they like would be able to produce some absolutely insane stuff. What they do already is incredible. I know that the turnaround times that they're given are so short, so they kind of stick to that sort of style. But setups and everything, lovely guys. So loads of stuff about shooting miniatures I sort of learned from them, really.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is like sometimes when you've got like really talented creatives, they are put into a box and left in that box and can't expand outside that box. So it's like when you put a fish in a pond, it's the size, it lives to the size of the pond. Yeah. Until you put it to a bigger pond and it grows bigger.
Then it grows bigger.
So I mean that's what I like to see my journey is like I was a fish in a pond. I'm now been removed from that pond and put elsewhere.
Yes.
I get to expand my skill set. I get to try new things. And
likewise as well. I think like sort of like the intros for Battle Report were kind of like, I'm not going to say, oh, they were my idea.
Yeah.
But because we got lots of feedback and all that sort of stuff. But like the 360s and, you know, the budget Mandalorian volume, which is just a monitor.
Yeah.
I filmed some of the first ones of those just with a cloth over my computer. Just like to cut down on the reflection.
Yeah, of
it was
course,
just people were like, "Oh, I'd love to work at Games Workshop. They must have endless resources," and it's just cloth.
They have endless talented people that are resourceful. That's what they have.
Before we get sacrificed to the Golden Throne and start our own YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the way.
Don't cross the stream.
Don't know. Maybe. No, who cares? So I mean, you left there. That was about October time, which was sad. I remember we got some pictures of you.
Yes.
Because I had an app where it can make him female and old, and he's sexy as a female.
People come
he's
in
sexy
here.
as an old man as well, wherever he is up there.
Well, I remember when you took those pictures, there was old man and cool old man.
Yeah.
and I think cool old man has like a better kept beard.
He does. It does look like Captain Birdseye.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to grow.
The amount of people that come in here and be like, "Is this his sister?" And I'm like, "No."
Apparently Jeff thinks it's his sister.
Yeah.
I want to date your sister.
I got some cool leaving presents. So there's people probably haven't seen it. So there's the land speeder, which is what, brother? Because Pat Price showed me like the I have tinnitus and it's I have 2 heavy weapons and that I was in stitches. So when I left, that handed to me, which was fun. So yeah, no, it was sad to go. Of course it was. But yeah, like me and Jeff have been chatting. I used Jeff's miniatures for my sort of application video.
Okay.
And that kind of thing. The Death Guard and the guy holding the standard bearer.
Yeah.
So and he was in a podcast with one of his mates who moved back up to Scotland, at the other side of Hadrian's Wall. Keep them out, I say.
Yeah. It's not a great wall these days, though. It's not very defendable.
No, I grew up in Cumbria. I think Scottish people are ace.
You're just saying that because of the comment. It's there chucking spears at me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Get away! What would Louise say? What would Louise say if she watched this right now?
Yeah.
Hey, Pat Price! You're not Pat Price, he's Pat Taylor. Yeah, I used to do this all the time, right? So this is the thing at Workshop, and I still do this now because we'll talk about AK versus VK. Just a little segue here. So,
we're not sponsored by AK.
They just sent us some nice mugs. I drank my tea out of it.
They kindly emailed us and said, "Can we send you some stuff? Use it on the channel if you like it." And they sent us some mugs because they know that we drink lots of tea.
These are quite thick mugs. I think you could kill a man with these mugs.
Probably.
Yeah. So, me, words, right? When people introduce me to someone, because you were introduced as Pat Price and Pat Taylor was introduced as Pat Taylor.
Oh, really?
Hattie was introduced as Hetty.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of
like
others.
the Hoover.
And and once that happens with me, it takes an age. I can't remember why, but someone said VK once to me instead of AK, and then VK stuck. But that's a drink, a different kind of drink, not tea. So every now and again when we're talking, I'm like, oh, have you got those VK paints, AK paints around? So I don't know if it's my brain. I'm just stupid. I think that's the bottom line. But yeah. So you just went and left me, abandoned me.
I felt like it was an episode of Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And I've been like, Father, I can't live in these conditions anymore. I want to marry a commoner. And then you're out. Excommunicated. Which is quite funny. Jeff, his podcast sadly came to an end.
Yeah.
He'd been my barber for a few years. He knew me when I used to work at a climbing centre in town, bring his son there as well. So we'd known each other for ages.
Yeah.
And we were just sort of like when I first went to GW, I remember being asked, they were like, what would you like to do, video or editing? And I was like, oh, probably, the video stuff. And he was like, painting or gaming? And I was like, painting interests me the most. And then I was an editor on Battle Report, which I thought was quite funny.
Imagine that story thread. If you'd have been put onto painting, would we still be there now?
Masterclass would look very different.
Yeah.
I think Masterclass would look like the painting videos I make here.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I would try and do.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. If
like
I was part of that team, Suggs was part of that team, it's like, would we be doing cooler, funner videos? I don't know.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's loads of different things with Games Workshop. I think after Duncan left, this is purely speculation on my part. Is nothing official. I've got loads of good things to say about Games Workshop, and some criticisms.
I was there for 20 years.
Yeah,
you've got to love a company if you've been there for 20 years.
Absolutely.
So
of
it's not all bad.
No.
It's just like every now and again you get like a hiccup.
Yes.
The way I used to describe it to people was like you fall out with your family every now and again, right?
Yeah.
And then you make up. And then you have like an argument, really pathetic one, like with your sister or your brother about something really pointless.
Yeah.
I used to find Workshop was very much like that. Every now and again, you're like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
What's going off in your head? And that stuff I think we'll talk about like in further chat shows. Someone mentioned in the comments about like the end times and the world that was being blown up in this area. But it'd be nice to know. I'd like to talk about that because I've got positive thoughts and negative thoughts about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have those times where you're just like, why being on that? And then for me, exactly. I loved it. I still enjoyed the products that they make and the things that they do.
Yeah, miniatures are awesome. Yeah, you get to work with some really passionate people.
That's the big thing. People you work with.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Like this guy.
Yeah, there we go. Get to work with each other. Jeff's here too. It's great. Yeah. He's just fun. Yeah, someone in a comment recently said, Jeff, Pat and Peachy, and everyone else behind the scenes. There is no behind the scenes.
Well, Keris, she's out there making tea for us every now and again.
She does supply us with a lot of biscuits, actually.
She does, yeah.
They've
all gone somewhere.
I took them off the table, yeah.
On coasters,
she made us coasters.
The painting phase.
Great. Yeah.
So the painting phase itself. So I mean, obviously you and Jeff chatted. Jeff had a podcast. You did videography, and then
getting us back on track. Thank you.
Came up. Honestly, I remember you sending me some direct messages on Instagram.
Yeah.
Chatting to me and going, "Hey, I'm thinking of doing this," because I was already planning ideas of what I'd like to do if I moved on. Because I already, like a year before I left, was wanting to move on and do other things.
Yeah.
Not because I hated anything or anything like that. I guess, like we said, the summer of Plus just ruined it for me.
I think it was change. Change is always hard.
Oh yeah, change is the constant of Workshop.
Yeah, and Warhammer Plus is like a big shift.
Yeah. In
stuff, and like when something grows, you have growing pains and this, that, and the other. And I sort of look at the department. I've gone, you've gone, Pat Price went, Hattie went. That's quite a few people.
Yeah.
I think there was only 10, 11 of us. Something like that.
So
it's quite a chunk of people.
Yeah. I mean, more have come since and stuff like that. Fill the gaps and stuff.
Yeah. From that original Warhammer team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mad. But yeah, so you obviously had a great name. You chatted to me in the DMs going, hey, I've got some videos, because I was like sending you some stuff like I've been playing around on my iPhone. I had an idea of like doing this and this. It was the 41st Clone Troopers, the Kashyyyk colour scheme. I'd done like a little paint guide on that, and I shared it with you going, what do you think? So that's a video we should do, because a few people have asked about that, how I do the camo pan. Dead easy, sponge. Just giving you a little teaser there, just a teaser. But you started sending me some stuff, which was like, hey, I'm doing this. And you sent me the logo. I was like, that is an amazing logo. Because I've been like coming up with ideas of what would I have? Peachy tips, you know?
Yeah.
There was like all sorts of like random comments and like designs and stuff. But then you started showing me this stuff. And like, oh, my mate's made this logo. I was like, that is a baller of a logo. That's a great name. Yeah. And then you started sending through some of your shows before you'd launched them.
Yes.
I was watching them. I was like, this is amazing. That your intro as well. You know, your very first video where you're just talking.
Like my Iron Warriors.
Yeah. It's like I was like, yeah, you're gonna nail it. You're gonna nail it, and you did, because I mean, even before I turned up, like your numbers were just increasing each month. For someone that was never a face of Workshop.
Yes.
And you know, with Jeff being in the room as well. I mean, obviously you've done some podcasts and stuff, but to see that progression so quickly, that tells me that as a channel, it's going to do all right. Yeah.
I think it was interesting. I think the first Iron Warriors video we did, came out at quite like all the heresy stuff was coming out at that time, I think, and I released it, and it was ticking over and it was doing okay. And then GW released their How to Paint Iron Warriors for the Heresy thing, and I think, and then YouTube was like, oh yeah, and connected the dots, and then it was like suddenly I had like 70,000 views on that video, which was crazy. And like we don't hit those numbers
even now. We don't.
on some of these videos, so it was really fascinating how it worked. And for me that was going to be, well, it was like a 3-part series of like where I go, I want to paint a Warsmith as an Iron Warrior. I don't know anything, so learn how to paint Iron Warriors first, and I followed along with some tutorials from content creators, and sort of like got their sort of blessing to release it and stuff.
Which I think when obviously the wedding editing settled down, it'd be nice to see more of those videos, because I thought that was a really nice niche where you would like watch different content creators, how they do their videos, and then you follow theirs, and then because it's almost like a review of someone else's channel, that someone like little Tim or like Susie, they just get into the topic and go, which is the best one for me to learn how to paint these models? And you'd be like, this one's really good for these reasons, this one's really good for these reasons, I combine these two to do this one. So I think that's a really sort of positive, and also it's like we're all in the same hobby, we're all in the same boat. You're also helping those guys out by sending traffic to their channel.
I hope so. Like, that was sort of my intention. I followed them on Patreon for a while and supported them that way as well, for sort of being like, thank you for the content and allowing me to make mine. And as well, like, I knew I wanted to do like, you know, some individual videos, but I was like, I am crap at painting, right? I'll document my sort of how I would approach learning how to paint. And most people will just follow YouTube tutorials. And stuff like that. And I really enjoyed it, and I think probably after Christmas, I think will be the next time that I'll be able to sort of go, right, I've got enough time to make another one. It's like I've got Gaz built up at the back. But then, I mean, I've got all this stuff. Like, I need to paint an Orc army. I think I want to paint all my Custodes using your methods, and being like, because we did say paint a kill team in an evening or an army in a weekend. They'll be like, right, how much can I paint in a weekend? Or something, you know. I think that would be interesting.
So that's weird. That leads me on to the next part of my sort of conversation, which is, where do you see us going? Because obviously you called upon Gondor.
Yes.
Gondor actually, you know, came.
Yes.
Sort of. The beacons were lit. It's the opposite way around. I mean, I'm not. You're Rohan. I'm Gondor. I'm going to tell you this time. Yeah. The Westfold won't fall. Not this time. It's not going to fall. The Westfold is not going to fall. We're going to shank Saruman up the Jaxie. Here's your white hand, mate. Stick it where the sun won't shine. So yeah, Gondor came to your aid this time round. That took a dark turn.
I'm just imagining you saying that on live whilst working for GW.
Oh, I said some bad stuff on live. I don't know how I got away with it. It was like, you know, sometimes where your internal policeman fails you. And I know a few people that may be watching this when it's on. Someone said, what would you be if you were in the mortal realms and I wasn't really paying attention, and I was like, I can't remember if I was doing something else. And like, I'm sure Wade answered, I'm sure Ben answered, and Nick answered, and then like Wade was like, "Oh, Peachy, the question is, what would you be if you were anything in the mortal realms?" I was like, "Oh, Neferata's saddle," and I carried on. Who wouldn't want to be sat on by Neferata? I mean, come on. And it just, sometimes we're in your head like, oh, that sounded better in my head, and then dirty old man,
dirty man.
But yeah, sometimes my internal policeman fails me, but.
You can do that.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, just don't swear as much as I do. Oh, retail, doors closed, potty mouth comes out.
Yeah.
I've learned to control that these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, you called upon me to join on the channel, which is mental, and I said yeah because
Which is also mental.
Yeah. I know the wife would say that. She's like, you're mad. We had a few conversations about it, and she was well aware, like a whole year into my turmoil of moving on and doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of put like a statement out when I left, which was like, for a plant to grow, you've got to be repotted.
Yeah.
That's kind of my ethos as well. Is like I wanted to do other stuff. Not saying that, and we had conversations with people at head office, like it's a market department. You do a certain thing. I want to do a certain thing to help people, and we do get slated on the shorts with the style of painting I do because it's messy, sloppy, and I make myself look ridiculous. Don't care what you think. I'm helping a lot of people out there get model on, paint on models. Yeah,
no, I think as we get more eyes on the channel, I've started looking at in some ways. It'd be like, oh, it's getting more hate. That means it's getting more views.
I mean, there's always going to be haters out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I got to this realization way before I even started working in YouTube videos, which was no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, someone's going to hate you for whatever reason. Your face doesn't fit. They don't like your style. They don't like the way you hold your brush. They don't like the fact you're left-handed. You're bald. You've got a beard. Yeah. You've got red hair.
You exist.
There's so many reasons, and I'm pretty tough to that, and I don't care what people think. If they don't like what I do, move on. Yeah. Like stuff that other people do. I'm aiming at people that are entry level beginners, then show them some extra stuff, and down the line I'm going to learn stuff. I want to learn how to, like I said, like Jeff on our first interview, like learn how to do military modelling, airbrushing. I want it to be a journey like your videos where you're watching other content creators. Because we got some weathering pencils from these fellas, which are amazing. I've been watching their videos on how to use weathering pencils and learning how to use weathering pencils. I want to introduce that.
Did you make sure you commented saying, make sure you learn how to do weathering pencil tutorials before you put one out on the internet and look stupid?
Yeah, I sent that right to AK Interactive. I thought, what do they know? I'm an artiste. I've used pencils all my life. You're holding it wrong. It was really interesting for me to do these things. But obviously, you have plans and ideas, which is why you brought me on. Yeah. New Year's coming. I know you've got some ideas for that. So where do you see the channel going? I know that was like a short story long. Yeah. I literally got to a short story long and I made it really sort of like weird and awkward and talked about Gondor and Saruman shoving his hand up his bum. But we got to the point at the end. Where do you see the channel going?
That was really stuck with me at that point. I think like I'm really happy with what we've done at the moment. I think like the talk shows have been going down really well, which is really nice to see. Because that's something that's been a staple with like me and Jeff. That our first video was like a talk show, and it was kind of like a magazine, sort of like, oh, we'll talk about Warhammer Plus, then we'll talk about that. Whereas I think, as we realised, something a bit less formal and just sort of like people can connect with a bit more, which I think is really cool. So, and to a certain extent, it's quite nice to not have solid plans. So we can be, guided by what we want to do, what people enjoy and like watching, because we are in a position where it's like we do have to succeed.
Absolutely.
We can't it would be like, right, we did that video and it got 5 views. Let's do another 10.
I mean, from just being here for like a month or so already, we were very specific with Cassian Andor.
Yes.
K2SO. When that was a short, did better than Cassian as a short. Even though we had like some really nice feedback about Cassian, which was I left my 7-year-old son with some paints in the video, and they showed us the picture on Discord.
One of our lovely patrons.
Yes, it was one of our lovely patrons, but it was really nice to know that the video that you've done works for anyone that's got like no time, wants to get stuff done quickly, or there's an age level there as well. It's like I'm still quite new, I'm still young,
that's
but I can follow along with it.
And I think like some people either forget or don't realise, or we don't tell them. Like me and Jeff touched on this with like the previous chat show that we did. Was it's kind of like, you know, we're not for everybody with the style of painting that we do. We are like aiming for people, getting into the hobby and being like, I have all this great plastic. There was a fantastic comment on Instagram recently. Somebody showed a section of like the rusty Galadag series, and it looked exactly like yours. And the Crute as well, which is such a positive for me. Is like if I can do a video, and your paint job looks the same as mine, I'm a happy man. And I was like that looks exactly the same. That's amazing. And I said like that's awesome, and he was like, no, thanks for like turning this mound of grey plastic and giving me the confidence to paint it. And I was like, amazing. Like, that's kind of like tick.
I mean, we've all got mounds of grey plastic. Spending problem, pile of potential.
Mine's a film set.
Yeah, that's true. Mine's in a wooden box. It's like, that's from 1980.
But channel going places. I think it would be like, I think the talk shows will always be like like one of the 10 poles of stuff that we do,
which I think will reassure a few people because they like them.
Exactly. One thing I'm conscious of is like we talked about our experiences like working in Games Workshop, and I've only sort of like 6 months, so you could probably talk about that for ages, but I did only work there for 6 months a year ago. It was like I don't want to be the person or the channel that's sort of like, and then this happened, and then this person said this, and this is all my opinion, and I just don't really want to go or be that sort of like controversial sort of.
I mean, 20 years of working there, I could talk about loads of things out of them, but a lot of it is just humans being humans, people being people. I don't blame Games Workshop for that.
No.
I blame the person that made that stupid comment. I blame the person that did that thing. I blame. And even then, it's like, why did they do that? What was in their head at the time? You know, as a manager, you got to like think a little bit more as to the reasons why that happened and stuff. But that I've definitely seen a trend of like a lot of folks come in, get quite sort of like het up by the way the business operates, and I think it's that, like we said in our previous channel, the first one we and Jeff talked about was that schism of moving from a small business to a big business. I think a lot of folks have come in at that time, and it is a bit disjointed. It is a bit sort of like what's going on. Whereas I remember the 10 years straight of like just nothing but hobby, love, and fun. But
it's interesting that you used the word family previously, because I see from my point of view coming into it not being like a huge like Warhammer like fan, like a year ago or what have you, like when a massive business that makes 100 million profit a year uses the word family, I'm like, no, you say we're a family and we support each other. That's how you exploit your staff. You get them to work for overtime. And all that and that kind of thing. So there's kind of like some of that small bit. You hit the nail on the head. That small business mentality, but the big business kind of thing. And it was just like, no, we do this and we do this, and we're all team players. We're a family. And that's why I was like, I left the family. And it is really interesting. It's quite fascinating.
I've heard that a few times. Like, it is a mechanism that people use. I mean, I've obviously been around lots of staff that I've known and built relationships. So I guess it's the staff. And
like because I was new. And not a huge sort of like Warhammer, like massively into the hobby. So I was like, this is a job. And then and
rightly so.
And it's turned into a lot more, which I'm super thankful for. It was.
And I'm also thankful for. So I get to do stuff that I've always wanted to do.
It's good.
And then you've got the camera skills and the equipment to help me out do it as well.
That's it. But I think there's loads of stuff I want to do. I think part of starting the painting videos was like, I want to show what I would have done if I was still there.
And
given the opportunity to do the painting video. So the Iron Warriors one was kind of like, I'd use that camera and that lens, and I'd edit it like this, and like the format of it all and that sort of stuff, which is kind of what we do with like your videos as well.
Yeah.
And the feedback on them is really nice, which is good. Always room for improvement. I don't be like, I'm amazing and I make the best videos in the world, because I don't.
No. We're always learning.
And they can always improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've always thought that whenever I do a video, the next one I do, it could be better. Where again, we touched on this in previous conversations, but and when I say it could be better, it could be like a way I enunciate words, or the way I introduce it, or the way I do the highlight on that particular colour, or the way I do this. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to, and this is like the thing I used to say to a lot of people when they came into the presenting role, was like, don't try and fix everything in one go, just pick one thing and work on that, pick another thing, work on that.
Yeah.
It's the same with us. I mean, we're learning as we're going, like the KTSO video wasn't as good as the others.
Yeah.
The the Clone Trooper one, even though it did a bit better, it still wasn't like in comparison to like the Breaches or the Crusaders. But then it's Star Wars, and in my head I just think there's a lot of people like Star Wars, surely that like this, but then not many people play Legion as much as they do 40k.
Yes.
So you've got to balance those out, but you still got to cater to those other things.
Yeah, that's it. We have I think what we have is we don't have a strict set of rules, and we've got room to manoeuvre.
Yeah.
I love YouTube. I've been wanting to start a channel for donkey's years, but I always gone, I don't know what I'd do. Yeah. But I knew that whatever I would do, I'd give it a good go, and I think I'd be successful at it. I really love a lot of the style of how I like to do the painting videos comes from the guys that I've been watching for ages. So there's a blacksmith called Alex Steele.
Good name.
Yeah. He's fantastic. Yeah, part of me thinks, me and Bird have changed it, but I don't think he did, because it is spelt slightly different. It's fantastic, and I have zero interest in trying blacksmithing. Yeah. I don't want to know how to make a falchion or a scimitar or whatever. But this guy in Norfolk, and him and his videographer, he's just like, right, we're going to embark on a 20-part series on how to make a Zippo lighter. And I'm just like, yes, Alec, inject it into my face. And I love it, because he's a fantastic host, and they take you through the process in a really interesting way, and the videography is wicked. They have loads of awesome shots where they're hammering on red hot steel and sparks are going everywhere, and I'm just like, and that for me, I think it's a good video if somebody can watch it that doesn't necessarily know what we're doing. So the painting tutorials, they're very specific already. So when you sort of we're going to show you how to paint this, and somebody might go, well, I don't want to know how to paint that, go away. What I think is fantastic about your tutorials is there's loads of techniques that you could
pull out,
take out and everything. But it is a big ask to go watch this video on space dwarfs, even though you don't want to paint space dwarfs. And that kind of thing. So I think for me, what I'm really interested in is kind of almost the story-based videos, which is to a certain degree, I think, is what a lot of the bigger YouTubers are going down. So Squidmar hasn't done this is how you watch highlight, this is how you do paint a space marine. Or he hasn't done one of those videos in ages. He's kind of we're going to make this big diorama, and they're getting loads of views because they're appealing to a wider audience. Whereas I know that some people that are kind of previous watchers of his videos is just kind of well, I don't watch them anymore, because they're kind of this kind of aspirational story stuff. So I think it'd be nice to try and find the balance. I think if the painting phase can be a one-stop shop for everything sort of hobby related. I want to do some tactics shows. I don't. I haven't played 40k, so I don't want to be I think it'll be. I mean, me and Jeff talked about it, a 10-minute right. Okay, here's a. It'd be people have names for. I'm going to use the Swarovski opener and have you in checkmate in 5 moves. Or whatever. I don't know what
I don't know what that was, but it sounded mega.
But there's names for stuff. And so if someone was I'm going to show you Peachy move. And being right, or here's how to use transhuman physiology. Or that kind of thing. I feel that has a lot of use and it's really helpful to the hobby as well.
It reminds me of the White Dwarf articles, which was like the Tactica in
Yeah.
White Dwarf, but in video format.
Yeah.
Which, because you can like see different because it's all done in words, and some of the time you have to like use your imagination to work out how that'll look. But
Yeah.
actually seeing that in action, like here's a common mistake of what people might do.
Yeah.
Try and avoid that if you can.
Yeah.
This is what happens if you fight against this side unit or this side unit.
Yeah.
And one of the things I liked, and we kind of touched on a bit with like the Shadow Vault box set and the Into Dark box set, is, do you remember when I don't know if you ever watched them, I did 2 sort of narrative campaigns on live during lockdown. One was the Dungeons of Hag Valkyr, and I basically played Warcry, but because it was remotely done, I kind of turned it into like a D&D sort of style game.
I saw like your sets for this.
I literally just used a box and a couple of webcams, and then it was all like narrative driven, and there was some dice rolling, and we used the rules as much as we could, but like the measuring was a bit awkward because people couldn't measure, so they're like, describe where you want to go, tell me what you want to do. They would work it that way. And then I did one for Necromunda as well, which I really enjoyed, and I was painting gangs at the time, so each episode was a new gang, and there was always like a narrative reason why you'd fight against a new gang. One of the things I'd like to explore with these videos is kind of go back to those narrative campaigns, like, I don't know, like an Into Dark versus Breaches and Crude, but over several games, make it quite theatrical, have it narrative, so it feels like you're watching Nightmare of old, the old TV show Nightmare. But there's the sort of suite of videos which shows you how to paint that gang. It shows you how to paint that gang, shows you how to paint the scenery, but then going down that Squidmore route, which is like, if you want to doll's house it and make like the murder chamber and the banquet hall and the old catacomb sort of burial ground, we have like videos that show you how to do that. So you've almost got like, here's a cool campaign, but here's all the stuff. I mean, obviously that's like a bit of time invested in that, and maybe over a few months you do it, but that's definitely where I'd like to see my stuff go a bit as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think like the like a lot of the channels at the minute. I think is it Eric's Hobby Workshop, maybe something like that, or there's another chap whose name I can't remember, and he was like, I'm gonna make my like the American kind of like mine train set. It's just like, I'm gonna make this, and it's just like he's talking you through how he makes it. And I think the same guy did like a Cassian K2SO kind of like diorama as well. So like diorama building seems quite popular and all that sort of stuff.
We were talking about that the other day, weren't we? Because I've got hold of the crashed not dropship escape pod that's got the droids in it, and I did. I got the I want to say Magma Droff Remains. It's something magma, but it's basically the
Magma Droff is
it's not Magma Droff. I think it's like Mega Droff or something like that. It's basically an Age of Sigma skeleton beast, and I painted one up and used it as a backdrop as a crate dragon. And I put some Star Wars figures out, and I was like, that'd be, and I put some sand, like actual normal sand. We were talking about like doing a little cool diorama set as a video, which is like the little sort of crash thing with like the droids coming out of it. Maybe some Jawas shouting Routini in the background. Because who doesn't want the Jawa shout? And they're fuzzy. We all know that from Mandalorian and Boba Fett. They are.
What do Jawas order at the bar? Martini. But yes, I think I'm going to talk to you whilst you're dying in the corner.
It's a dad joke, right there.
I think there's loads of videos that we can do. But one thing I really want to focus on is making it accessible, it being of use to people, and just sort of like keeping with kind of like the what we've developed. Sort of really like and just have fun. I think that's the most important thing. Like we need the videos to be successful, because otherwise we'll have to stop making them. And
that would be sad for all.
And that would be sad.
Except for those people that hate like my shorts.
Yes.
They'd be happy. Or two of them.
I think I'm like super excited for what we'll potentially become in the future. Like I would absolutely love to film like a tactics show, but we need probably another presenter, potentially another editor, but that is money, so it's kind of like keeping things small and manageable to begin with, but I think growth is good. Like I don't think I want to be like a massive corporation and all that sort of stuff, because I think like having this like friendly sort of atmosphere where we can all just pitch in and do stuff.
I think the thing for me as well is like, as long as we've all enjoying what we do, because that was a big driver for me in any workplace. Enjoy what you do, enough to put food on the table, pay the bills. That's really it for me. As long as, and I don't want to be a millionaire living in a huge house that I can't afford to heat, driving cars that I can't afford to fill with petrol. I just want to be happy, enjoy my home, enjoy my family, enjoy doing my job. And come to work with a big smile on my face and leave with a big smile on my face looking. I mean, at the moment, right? And my wife's like, "Oh, are you sure you're not working too hard?" I'm like, "No," because and she doesn't really mind because she's at bed at this point. But I like to do extra prep in the evenings, like get things built up or do like some edits to my script, even though I spend time editing it here when we're scripted anyway because I don't like the way I've said it. But it's that kind of driver of like, I want to make it work. And I also like working out how. I recently did my first one-to-one tuition. And
on Patreon.
And Andy was talking to, he uses OBS. He was like, "You might be worth getting OBS because it's got some better qualities to it." I've been playing around with that. For some reason, it won't let me run it properly at the moment. So there's a lot of me like just tinkering around at night time, working out why is this not working? Why can't I get this to work? So there's a lot of not obviously like doing social media stuff as well, because we have to like respond to our patrons and like folks on the old internets.
One thing I'm really enjoying that I was initially like a bit sort of skeptical of is the Discord. I love it. I think it's great because quite often like I'm like, "Oh, someone's added me into a group chat." But like the community we have. He's fantastic.
I mean, I for my sins, I'm not on it enough, I don't think, because I tend to respond a lot to the YouTube stuff. And like Instagram and whatever. But Discord, I'll see like the little beep beep come up, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll get back to that in a minute." Well, I've got it on my phone, but inevitably, being a parent, what will happen is like, "Daddy, let's play cars." It doesn't sound like that, obviously, "Daddy." So I end up like playing with cars, and like he's got like a couple of like Toy Story figures. He's like, talk like Jesse. I'll just have to put on like Jesse's voice, like, "Well, hello there, Charlie. How you doing?" I have to do that for like hours and hours and hours, and I'm his monkey. I am literally a dancing monkey with this kid. But he loves it. And then sometimes like, "Oh yeah, Discord." I was halfway through typing a message on Discord. I should probably get back to that. Halfway whilst sat down at the toilet, because it's your first 5 minutes of free. That's the other thing, parents. You don't get any free time. No. But I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world. That was what I was thinking about. And without like going too mad down the future and stuff, is like getting a small human hobbyist. Whether he gets down to that, to the level of like other small human hobbyists.
Get him to make some shorts.
Get him to make some shorts and see how the internet reacts to that.
So we keep bringing it up. I'm like not bothered by.
Oh no! I mean, it sounds like we are, but we're not. It's become that kind of thing where you talk about it, you find like some comments, and if I was made of like softer stuff, I'll be a bit sort of distraught and upset by it. And I can see like in modern day, like when folks find like the internet abuse quite upsetting to the point where it really damages their mental health. Like, I can understand that step.
If it got to a stage where like people, it was kind of like an organised thing, like people coming after you, that would be horrible.
But the way I look at it is that I have two coping mechanisms. One, I don't care, and two, I go, I don't care. But I guess in this day and age, when you're brought up on like tech and stuff like that, you want like instant gratification stuff. But my wife tells me I'm rubbish most of the day, so I'm kind of used to that kind of level of criticism. So, and she'll be watching this going, "No, I don't." I was like, "She doesn't really." She just keeps me in line. She's actually really, really handy for the stuff I do, because she's been quite. She's watched every video that's gone out. And she's all like, "I probably wouldn't have said it like that," or "That's really interesting. I didn't know that's how it used to be." And so she's quite good at like picking bits out and like talking about it. Sometimes a bit like, "That hurts, but you're right. You're right."
Because if we were just showing videos to each other, we'd be like, "That's amazing." It turns into a bit of an echo chamber. You don't grow.
Well, no, I mean, I think university and college really helped me with like the feedback kind of stuff, and no one likes getting criticism from the wife because it does feel like a knife in the sides. But most of the times, then she knows that she's always right, always right, and I hate it because she is. But like from a creative point of view and a sort of professional point of view, when you're doing stuff, you can understand and take that criticism. You can like digest it a bit different.
Yeah.
Pegging the washing out and getting like slated for that feels different than screwing up a paint job.
Yeah.
Like, why are you getting so mean about the pegging? But like,
Just not saying pegging.
I'll cut out just for the audience. I'm going to come to a conversation about pegging in a minute or two. I know it's going to trigger some people, but it's funny. But yeah, so she's been really good. She's very good at like looking at stuff and giving me feedback on it, because I've had those years of uni and you kind of get used to like your work being ripped to pieces and you know, do this better, do that better, and that through my career workshop, that's sort of really sort of helped. So when you like a lot of comments actually is like your voice keeps trailing off, and I think that's something that at work they were able to fix like in post.
To a certain extent. As well.
But it's not something I've noticed. But like I know Dan, who was the audio guy at work, would say you've got like quite a lot of peaks and troughs, whereas it's become quite evident with it. So like I need to be a bit more. And, you know, a few people have mentioned that. So.
Like there's always a thing like if someone says a comment and you kind of like, right, well, a certain amount of people are thinking it, and then you see that comment a few times. And then you're like, okay, this is a thing. Which is interesting.
So the pegging comment. So I am actually naive to this term. Well, I was until the wheel destroyed my sense of realisation. So I was in the office one day and I got into the subject as, does anyone else's wife peg them? And everyone just stopped. I was like, Peachy, this is not the conversation for the office. I'm like, why is this not a conversation for the office? My wife pegs me all the time. Sometimes I peg her. And I know why you're laughing because I understand it now. But so I was having this conversation and everyone in the office has stopped. They're all like hands in their heads like oh, what is he saying? Why? Stop talking. This is a HR job. I was like, no, I mean, we went out one day. She pegged me just before we'd gone out. We'd gone for a meal. And then I went to the urinal and then this peg dropped down. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, clothesline peg. She's always sticking them on me. It gets really irritating because like we went to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I went to the trough, and two guys stood either side of me, and as I unzipped my my hoodie, a clothes peg fell out into the trough, and that's where the whole conversation went. Apparently, internet, you've got some issues. Pegging means something different.
Oh, my cheeks hurt.
What is wrong with the world? What is wrong with the world? I don't get it. Don't get it. It's so wholesome, just sticking clothes pegs on each other. I don't understand why it's become a thing. Weirdos, the lot of you. So that was the pegging conversation. Just thought I'd chuck that in at the end.
I appreciate that. I feel like we talked about a lot of stuff, but simultaneously, not much. Oh dear!
Did we just talked about your journey? I mean, it's been an interesting sort of thing for me.
That was kind of like an abridged version.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be more specifics in the future.
You should go into specifics. Certainly, like you know, the plan. Not giving too much away. Don't want to give it away to those out there that just want to steal our ideas.
The grand plan is there is no plan.
Oh, good.
I think that's probably
failure to plan is planned to fail. That's what I got told as a manager. Yeah. Just chuck that out. Yeah, you need to work on your planning.
We need to work. This isn't a dictatorship.
Oh, is it?
Yet.
Oh, not yet. Oh God, thank God for that. I mean, if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. See, I remembered to do that part.
Fantastic. Well done. See, I always forget because I'm not really usually in the videos.
That's true. Which is I want to see more of that because that's what you did start off.
Yeah, I enjoy the behind the scenes stuff. I think I was saying to my girlfriend recently, like, I think over time and as like my career has sort of, progressed or whatever, I find myself as like a facilitator, rather than like, I'm the star of the show. I want to be the star of the show. And it's like, I would be like, oh yeah, I'd love to be in these videos and that videos. But I think what I really like is say like, I've facilitated you being able to make videos that you want, and that kind of thing, and kind of like we have created the channel and it's growing and it's heading in the right direction, which is really nice, and it's kind of like I quite like the behind the scenes kind of stuff. In a certain way, like admin, I'm not very good at. Like my sister's in an accountancy course. I'm just like, how? And I've been self-employed for ages, and I hired an accountant day one.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I know that myself, I won't do it.
I think most people do that then,
Yeah.
because, keep to your skill set.
Yeah.
You're a videographer, editor,
Yeah.
painter.
I mean, I'm going to have to learn OBS soon.
Oh, same. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm playing around with it. Yeah.
We will might potentially have some sponsored content on the channel at some stage. So that will be interesting about, and thinking about how we can do that. Because, we need sponsorship. We need money to pay wages and keep the lights on and survive. But it's kind of like doing that in a way that our audience will be sort of like, oh, that's clearly sponsored content. That's rubbish.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about our audience or any audience is if they don't like it because they'll let you know.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that.
No.
Because that's the reality check, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the great thing about we'll try different things, and watching this, you're going to see a lot of not weird, but lots of different things happening over the next few years. Just like we're going to try this, we're going to try that, and you might go, "That's amazing, keep that." Because I didn't think like chats would be as popular as they have been, but they apparently is talking about experiences and just things we want to do.
It's kind of like I'm fascinated with how things work and how things are made, which I think is why I really like the blacksmithing channel. There was a lady that. I always forget her surname, Bernadette someone. She makes Victorian style clothing. But the way the videos are assembled, they're so engaging and it's so interesting. I care even less about Victorian clothing than I do about blacksmithing. But her videos are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like she released one recently and it was like, I started an OnlyFans for spicy Victorian ankle pics. And it's like, what a video title. Because it all started from the meme of like, a Victorian lady showing her ankle.
Yeah.
And men being like, put your ankles away. It's getting steamy. And stuff like that. But she just did this whole video and she was like, and it was set out 3-act structure. She was like, I'm going to do this. Here I am doing it. And then let's review.
Yeah.
And she donated it all to charity.
Yeah.
And it was just her in all her Victorian stuff being like, here's an ankle. But fascinating video.
Yeah.
But what I find more fascinating is like how well it's done and all that sort of stuff. Like that's kind of like what drives me really.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of like some wife likes watching DIY things and stuff like that. So I always like getting ideas. It's a good channel when you can watch a DIY program how to fix the deadlock on your door.
Yes.
And then you fix the deadlock on your door.
Yes.
And you're like, that's a good DIY.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we said this earlier, didn't we? Like with like people being able to like follow your tutorials and have it look the same.
Yeah.
Is the biggest testament to how good a tutorial is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. More to come, lots more colours. I mean, there's another thing as well I'll chuck in before we do go, which is a lot of people have in comments have gone, it's really cool. I'm always learning something new with these videos of different hack here. Yeah. There will be times where I will be showing the same hacks because it might be someone's first video. You might have seen the hacks a few times by that point. So that, although the colour scheme might be beneficial to you, the hacks themselves you might have already understood and learned. So do expect that. Do expect some... things to be repetitive.
So I think like we've got some of the new Votan vehicles. I think that will probably paint up in a similar scheme to your Votan. Yeah. But it won't necessarily be here's how to paint this yellow vehicle specifically. I think approaching it with a broader brush.
How to match your contrast painted miniatures with tanks and how you'd use the contrast on that.
And that would be if I'm not watching painting Votan. That's something I wouldn't have a clue. I mean, because using contrast paints on like a Bane Blaze, and you'd be like, oh, what paint the backside? So being able to learn of those things and go, oh right, okay, brilliant. So with their techniques, swap out those colours, done. Yeah. I think that's great. But anyway, we're waffling. We always waffle on these things anyway. So that's what it's about. It's a chat show. Yes. But yes, so you've got plans. Plans are afoot. New Year, we should see you more on screen, hopefully, in the new year. You've done all your wedding editing. That is the plan.
That's good. Yeah, so please remember to hit the like and subscribe button. As Pat has said, it helps keep the lights on, pays the wages and all that. Oh, yes, Jeff's mouthing at me. Don't let your wife peg you.
That's exactly what
no, we have some affiliate links in the description.
Or let your wife peg you, whatever you're into.
Close pegs.
Whatever you're
pegs.
into.
Close pegs.
Yes. We won't. There's no king shaming here. It's fine.
For the Emperor!
Not with the amount you've got, Pat.
Yeah. Affiliate links in the description, Patreon. You can join us on there if you really want to, and that's the best way of supporting our channel.
Yeah.
But if you aren't able to, that's absolutely fine too. Just thank you very much for watching.
Yeah.
It is incredibly appreciated.
We love you all. I'm Peachy. He's Pat. That's Jeff. He's naked.
Well, it's my turn.
It's like a Bob Ross downstairs.
I'm done.